Hello, everyone. This is Kerwin, and welcome to another episode of Travel Talk. And today we're going to be talking about which seat is the best seat in the airplane. Is it the bulkhead, the regular row, or, which one? Emergency exit, which one? Let's go. So this is a typical common question that I get from time to time. And the best seat in economy class is a seat with the most legroom, but that just depends on who you are. So let's start at the front. Initially, there's a bulkhead row, and what you're looking at in the background behind me, this is a Finnair Air J190, and this is their quote unquote bulkhead row. This is actually the first row in economy class behind first class. And on this particular airplane is 2-2. First class, I think, was 1 and 2, I think is what they have in first. And there is a bulkhead. Now, what you notice in this particular seat, usually in the bulkhead row, you're sitting in like a little box, in essence. So if you look right there in the picture, I'd be turbo as the weatherman. If you look right there in the picture, normally there's a little divider right there on like a 737 or a A320 or 21 or something like that. There's normally a divider there. So you're sitting in a little box. That's usually what happens at the bulkhead row. And again, as soon as I start a video, I start to itch. Jeez. So that's usually what happens with the bulkhead row. The bulkhead row, as it says, sits behind the bulkhead. Normally the bulkhead is there. It's really there to strengthen the airplane. That's really the feature of it. But what we do as what airlines do is they will put a bassinet there for a baby. So you'll find that, or it's usually reserved for people who are disabled, they can't walk far, it's difficult for them to get in and out of the rows. That's usually why they put that, usually who sit at the bulkhead rows. So in some airlines, you can't pick them until like the day before departure or the day of departure, or only airports can assign them. So if you're traveling and you need a little assistance or a thing like that, pick up the phone, call the airline, tell them, and that what they will end up doing is they will give you that seat. They'll assign that seat to you. What airlines do now is actually charge you for those seats because they're extra legroom. And so, but if you're disabled, you wouldn't be charged for that particular seat. Going further back, they normally have the next row or the next few rows are usually the extra legroom seat. Different airlines call it different things, but it's just extra legroom. And yes, you're going to pay extra for these rows, or what they sometimes will do is if you're a frequent flyer, then you can get those seats without paying. But those seats are going to cost you extra to sit there. This didn't used to be the case, but when they unbundled the fare and the different components of the fare, this was one of the things that got unbundled. They're like, well, if you're going to sit in a nicer part of the plane, we're going to charge you more for that nicer part of the plane. Going a little further back, you're going to have the exit row. And the exit rows are similar to the bulkhead because they have the thing, like a box that you're going to be sitting in. And your tray table comes out. If you look at this particular one, the tray table is probably coming out. Well, the middle is weird because I don't know where the tray table comes out of. The tray table is probably on the seat in front, but normally it's not. Normally the tray table is in, I think in this one, that's where the tray table is. The tray table is actually at the side here. It's kind of a funky combination, but normally the chair table is inside the little thing that's between the seats. That's where the chair table lives. And it looks like in this particular one, that's where the tray table is, on the at the windows and on the aisle, because they both have to have a tray table. And so the exit rows are set up like that. You normally can't put anything, in some airlines, you can't put any bags under the seat in front of you in the exit row. they have to go into overhead. That's the European airlines normally do that. The US airlines don't do that. You just can't have anything in the way, but you can stuff it all the way under the exit row. The exit row will give you more room. However, you have to also pay for that luxury. Or if you have frequent flyer access, then you don't have to pay for it based on your frequent flyer access. Also, if you have to be over 15, and in some countries, you have to speak the local language because you are expected to assist. They normally ask, are you ready, able, and available to assist in case of an emergency? So if you're not, you can't sit there. I was on a flight, I tell the story all the time. I was on a flight with, I think it was Aeromexico, coming out of Mexico City to Houston, I think it was. And the flight attendant came over and she asked me in Spanish, do I speak Spanish? And I said, no. And she goes, you have to move. And so I had to move from that seat because most of the people on the plane speak Spanish, so it makes sense, right? And so I had to move from that seat. Going further back, it's going to be tight because after the exit row is normally where they have the really, really tight seats with little or no leg room is usually where they have that. So the best place to sit is the extra leg room, but it's going to cost you more, and you should make sure you have frequent flyer points or I guess frequent flyer status, so you don't have to pay to sit in that part of the seat. When you go to book your seats in an airline nowadays, they will show you what seats are available, and they will also tell you how much it costs for each seat, and you will see it. Oftentimes they even charge for the middle seat. I'm like, seriously, it's a middle seat. You're charging me to sit in a middle seat? And sometimes the cost to sit in the middle is the same cost to sit at the aisle. Now, the question is, excuse me, do you want a window seat or do you want an aisle seat? I prefer window seats. Some people prefer aisle seats. It's just a matter of preference. It's just whatever. If you like to look outside the window, take the window seat. Otherwise, take the aisle seat. I prefer aisles. So I prefer windows, and I will almost always take a window seat. I don't necessarily like the aisle, although you can get up easily. Sometimes it's weird. I'll take a window seat, and then someone is in the middle and someone is at the aisle. I want to go to the bathroom, and the person at the aisle or the middle looks at me strange. I'm like, look, if you're going to sit at the aisle, you have to know you're going to have to let people out. And if you're sitting at the window, please open the window. Come on. That's kind of your thing if you're sitting at the window. Some people get on a flight and the first thing they do, they close the window. And it's like, really, really? If you wanted to close the window, sit in the aisle. But I get it. It's their window. They can do whatever they want with it. And whenever I'm sitting there, I'm going to keep it open because I want to see what's outside. But anyway, so it just depends on your preference, whether you want an aisle or a window. What some airlines will do, they will assign you the middle seat. And when they assign you the middle seat, there's nobody sitting next to you. That happened to me on a flight recently. So I just, moved over. They gave me in the middle of the plane. And so none of the windows were available and I wanted a window. So all I could do was just move over to the aisle. And so I was sitting in the aisle, but there was no one sitting at the window at the middle and no one at the other side, at the other aisle. So I got the entire row of 3 seats to myself. So I looked at. Typically, airplanes are in different configurations. So this one is 2-2. So there's no middle seats on this particular plane, the Embraer 190. The wide bodies, which is the ones that have 2 aisles, they're usually, depending on the aircraft type it is, you could have 242, you could have 252, you could have 343, you could have 333, you could have 353. That's 11. Yeah, I think some of them do have 11. Just depends on the aircraft. Yeah, and you could have 242 as well. I think I mentioned 242. You could have 232s. The 767s is normally 232. And so, but they're different. Yeah. Different airlines will do different configurations, but usually they tend to keep the same. Like 333 is normally the 777 or the 787s. But now they've actually moved those to be, some of the 777s have 343s, The A330s is normally 232, or some have 242, depending on how the airlines configure them. And if you're in business class, it's a whole different story in business class. But this question was about the economy class. In economy class, there's also premium economy. Premium economy. So in an airplane that has 333, they will have like 242, and the seats are a little wider. You get a lot more leg room. You get a footrest. You may still have you will still have a bulkhead. But I was on the Air France A350, and they had 242, and I had a window, so I was happy. And you normally have less row. You may have 3 or 4 rows, depending. The meal service is usually different in premium economy than it is in regular economy. And what will happen is that if you're a frequent flyer or something like that, some of the airlines will give you free meals if you're in the economy class. So it just depends on which airline you're flying, what destination you're flying, and what amenities they have for that particular destination. But all that you can find out on the airline's website. It takes a little searching sometimes, but everything is there. Airlines are getting better now. They're actually sending you an email that outlines everything that's going to happen for you on that particular flight. So I hope this helps. This is Kerwin with Travel Talk. Talk to you soon.